Hey everyone, welcome to this live session by Simplilearn. In today's session, we'll learn all about Selenium. But before we proceed, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to never miss an update. Also, there's going to be a quiz at the end of the session and a lucky winner will get an Amazon voucher. So stay tuned for that. Now let's jump in and see what's in store for us. First, we'll look at what manual testing is and some of its drawbacks. After that, we'll understand the need for automation testing and what Selenium is. We'll also learn about Selenium's suite of tools. We'll understand the advantages and limitations of Selenium testing. And lastly, we'll look at Selenium jobs and salaries, and finally how Simplilearn can help you. So moving on, what exactly is manual testing? Well, back in the early 2000s, testing was mainly done manually. It involved the physical execution of test cases against various applications to detect bugs and errors. It required the knowledge of a testing tool. Over time, this process came with a lot of challenges. It proved to be extremely time-consuming. It posed a high risk of error. It required the presence of a tester throughout. It had a limited scope, and there was no support for performance and batch testing. Now, considering all these drawbacks, a desperate need to automate the testing process was in demand. Jason Huggins, an engineer at ThoughtWorks, bugged with his strenuous job, decided to try and automate this process. He developed a JavaScript program called the JavaScript Test Runner. Although initially it was only deployed by the employees at ThoughtWorks, it was later renamed as Selenium and was made open source. Since its inception, Selenium has been a powerful automation testing tool to test various web applications. Now, what exactly is Selenium? Selenium is an automation testing tool used to test web applications across various browsers. Now, it can only test web applications and requires other tools to test desktop and mobile applications. Well, that's a bummer, huh? Now, let's look at some of its features. It is open source. It consists of a dedicated set of tools, which we'll discuss shortly. It is primarily developed in JavaScript. It provides a record and play feature without having to learn any scripting language. It can also be coded in several programming languages. It is a browser and a platform-independent tool, meaning it can run on multiple browsers like Chrome, Safari, Firefox, to name a few, and on multiple operating systems like Windows, macOS, or even Linux. Now let's go ahead and look at the Selenium suite of tools. The first tool is Selenium IDE. Selenium Integrated Development Environment was developed by Shinya Kasatani back in 2006. It was both a Firefox and a Chrome extension that can automate the browser functionality. It comes with a record and play feature that records the user interactions and exports them as a reusable script. Now, when executed, it plays the recorded actions. Any deviation in the result indicates the presence of a bug. Coming to the script generated, it can be modified using Selenium's commands like actions, accessors, and even assertions. You could check out the detailed tutorial for IDE in the description box. The link is mentioned. Now, Selenium IDE can be deployed on different platforms like macOS, Linux, and even Windows. IDE ceased to exist back in 2017 when Firefox released its Firefox 55 version. A robust and revamped version was released by Applitools in 2018. Now, this new interface came with a Selenium side runner that allowed all IDE tests to run parallelly on multiple browsers. Now, let's look at the typical interface and understand its components. First up on the top, we have the menu bar. Now, here you can either create a new project or open an existing project or even save a project. After that, we have the toolbar. We can run all the tests if in case we have multiple test cases. Next to that, we have a button to help run the current test. IDE also has a debugger option used for step execution. And then you can also regulate the speed of execution using the feature. Next up, we have the start and stop recording feature. Now this icon, as the name suggests, helps to record the test case. Next, we have the address bar. Now this basically shows the URL of the application under test. Moving on, we have the test script editor box. This is where all the script tests are recorded. Now it has 4 attributes. First up, we have the command, which indicates the actions performed on the web elements. Then we have a target. Now this indicates the element on which the action is being performed. And finally, we have a value. Now this is an optional field. We can send values to various web elements on the browser. Next up, we have the test case pane. Now this basically consists of all the test cases that have been recorded up to date. Finally, we have the test log and reference. Now this is a running log. As in when your test script runs, the IDE will log it here. It indicates if the command was run successfully or not. We also have a reference tag that will show the complete description of commands and how to use them. Now let me show you a quick demo on how IDE really works. In the beginning, you'll have to install the IDE plugin. So you can basically go to Google and say Selenium IDE plugin. Click on the first link and you can say add to Chrome. However, it's added in mine, so I'll just leave it to that. Moving on, let's go ahead and click on the icon here to the top right corner. Now this is what the typical IDE looks like. So let's go ahead and record a new test in a new project. And let me call the project name Amazon_books. So now it requires the website URL on which we're going to be testing. So in our case, we're using Amazon. So let's go to the Amazon website. Let's copy its URL, paste it here, and then say start recording. Now once I click on start recording, it's going to record all my user actions. So let's go ahead. So I'd wish to look at today's deals. So I go ahead and click on today's deals. After that, say I'm interested in looking at books. So I go ahead and click on books here. After that, I wish to click on, say, the 4th book here. I say add to cart. So I click on that. After that, let's go ahead and check out. Here we go. The book has been added. Once I'm done with that, I'll close my browser and stop recording here. Let's call it books for now. So here all the commands have been logged, and as you can see, once I click on the play button, it's going to display all the recorded commands. So let's go ahead and click on that. But before that, let me reduce the text execution speed so that it's easier for you to see. And now I say play. So as you can see, all the commands are turning green, indicating that all the steps have been performed successfully. So here you go. It goes to books, and that is it. Well, it was a little fast. However, all our commands have been successfully executed. Finally, a message is displayed saying completed successfully. So this is a small example of how to show you how IDE works. So going back, let's go ahead and look at the next tool. Next up, we have Selenium Remote Control. RC was developed by Paul Hammond and is a server written in Java. RC makes provision for writing application tests in various programming languages, be it C#, Perl, PHP, Python, etc. The RC server accepts commands from the user program and passes them to the browser as Selenium core JavaScript commands. Now consider a typical JavaScript program, say test.js, used by google.com. Now the program can access pages within the google.com domain like google.com/mail or login. However, it cannot access elements of other domains like yahoo.com. So local copies of Selenium core and the web browser have to be installed so that they belong to the same domains. This is called the same origin policy, and Selenium RC was introduced to address this limitation. The server acts as a client-configured HTTP proxy and tricks the browser into believing that Selenium core and the web application being tested came from the same origin. Now that's pretty cool, huh? Well, moving on, let's look at the next tool in the suite. We have the Selenium WebDriver. It was developed by Simon Stewart, and WebDriver revolutionized automation testing. It was the first cross-platform testing framework that provided the interface to create and run test cases. WebDriver allows the users to perform actions like click or hover on web elements. Again, the scripts can be written in any programming language, be it Perl, PHP, Java, etc. It also supports frameworks like TestNG or JUnit for test management. But the main USP of WebDriver is that unlike RC, it doesn't require a core engine and interacts with the browser natively. To learn more about WebDriver, there's a link in the description box. Make sure to click on that to get a better understanding. Now the final tool is the Selenium Grid. Now it was developed by Patrick Lightbody. The main objective of Grid was to minimize the test execution speed. Grid was designed to distribute commands to different machines simultaneously. It is exceptionally flexible and can be integrated with other tools. The typical setup of a grid consists of a central hub connected to several machines. The hub receives the test to be executed along with the information about the OS and the browser to be run on. Now the hub accordingly picks one of the machines that conforms to the requirements. Later, it delegates the tasks. So with that, we've come to the end of Selenium Suite components. Now let's look at the advantages of Selenium testing. First up, we have speed and accuracy. The testing process is quick and accurate since any human errors are ruled out. It is also open source, meaning anybody can download and start working on small projects. And as we've discussed earlier, it supports a wide range of programming languages and operating systems. It is also very easy to implement. It doesn't require a strong knowledge about the tool. And lastly, the main advantage is the fact that it is reusable. Moving on, let's look at the disadvantages of Selenium testing. Since it does not have a central body governing its working, Selenium does not have a reliable tech support. It can only test web applications. Selenium also fails with image testing. It doesn't provide an inbuilt reporting facility and has to be integrated with third-party tools. Some of these tools could be TestNG or JUnit. They also help with test management. And while using WebDriver, the user is expected to have a fair knowledge of the programming language used. Moving on, let's look at the Selenium jobs and salaries. Now here are some of the roles performed by test engineers. First up, the employee is expected to develop test cases and detect bugs and errors, to design the full framework for implementation, to ensure the best communication practices, to define test strategies for fixing software issues. So these are some of the key roles of a test engineer. Moving on to the salaries, according to PayScale, the average salary of an automation engineer in the US is a whopping $90,000 per annum. The average salary of an automation engineer in India is around 5,24,000 rupees per annum. Now let's look at the top tier companies that deploy Selenium. Some of these companies are Google, Infosys, TCS, Capgemini, among others. Now moving on to the most exciting part, the quiz. Here's an easy question for you to answer. Which one of the following suite components does not support programming? Here are your options. A. Selenium WebDriver. B. Selenium Grid. C. Selenium Integrated Development Environment. Or D. Selenium Remote Control. Make sure to leave your answers in the chat section. One lucky winner will win an Amazon voucher. The winner's name will be announced shortly. So now you must be wondering how Simplilearn could help you. If you're looking to make a career as a test engineer, then I'd recommend you go through some of the courses offered by us. So let's go to our official website. You could visit our official website and look up for the course that you want. I say Selenium Training. Now you get a few options, and depending on your requirement, you can take up the appropriate course. We have Automation Testing Masters program, we have a Selenium 3.0 training program, and we have JavaScript certification training. Now you can click on one of these programs, get a brief overview and some of its key features. I hope this will give you a better understanding. So for those of you who have joined us now, I'll repeat the quiz question. The question asked was, which of the following suite components does not support programming? First up, we have Selenium WebDriver, B, Selenium Grid, D, Selenium IDE, or D, Selenium Remote Control. Make sure to leave your answers in the chat section. So finally, let's look at the key takeaways. Now, what did we learn? So first, we understood the shortcomings of manual testing and why test automation was actually necessary. Then, we understood what Selenium is and some of its key salient features. Then, to answer the question as to why Selenium is so efficient, we learned about its robust suite of tools. Finally, we understood some of its advantages. And every tool comes with its set of disadvantages, so we learned about some of the limitations. And finally, we spoke about the scope of Selenium. So we have a winner for the quiz. Congratulations, Vijay Kandala. I hope I'm saying it right. So congratulations. Our team will get back to you shortly. Make sure to leave your email in the description, in the comment section. And with that, also one of our users is asking to repeat the demo. Alright, so let's go back to our IDE. So if you wish to open a new project, here you can click on the create new project icon. I'm going to proceed. Let me call it Amazon demo. Okay. And now I'll have to basically provide the URL. And since I'm working on Amazon.com, I will copy paste the URL of Amazon.com. After that, I can click on the record button. Once I click on that, it's going to start recording all the actions that I perform. So I say record. So it navigates to the Amazon.com website. And here, say for example, I click on today's deals. And I say arts, crafts and sewing because that's what I'm looking for. And I find something exciting, so I say add to cart. And let's check our cart finally. Yep, and after this I close it. So these are the actions that I perform. Alright, so when I come back to my IDE, the first thing that I need to do is I stop recording. Now and then I give a name. I say arts and crafts. Now all the commands are here. As I mentioned earlier, all the steps are exported as a reusable script. So we have everything here. Let me run this program and see if it's exactly executing. So I go here and say run test, current test. So it navigates to the website. It then clicks on today's deals. And then it again adds something to my cart. Well, it's a little fast. However, all the commands are executed perfectly and the log says arts and crafts completed successfully. Now, this is a small example of how Selenium IDE works. Now, if there was any deviation in the execution, then it would indicate that there were bugs in my entire program. So then I'd have to rework on that. So this is a simple execution. So I hope that helped you, whoever asked. So now let's wait for a Q&A session. If you have any doubts, make sure to ask them. I'm here to help. Alright, so we have a question. One of the users asks, what are some third-party tools that are used with Selenium? Well, Selenium can be integrated with various third-party tools. As I mentioned earlier, Selenium alone cannot test desktop applications. So it has to be integrated with third-party tools like APM for that. It is also integrated with TestNG, JUnit, is also integrated with Maven and Jenkins. So there are a lot of other third-party tools that can be integrated with Selenium. Again, one of them asks, is Selenium used for mobile testing? Well, conventionally, no. Selenium alone does not support mobile testing. It requires third-party integration. So it is generally integrated with tools like APM for mobile testing. If you have any questions or queries, please ask them. Well, TestNG is this tool that is used for reporting and test management. Selenium does not inherently come with reporting facilities, or it does not come with test management. So it is again integrated with, say, TestNG or JUnit that helps with reporting and test management. So let me announce the winner again. It's Vijay Kandala. I hope I'm saying it right again. So our team will get back to you shortly and inform about the further details. So with that, we've reached the end of this session. I hope you guys found this informative and helpful. Thank you for watching. Keep learning and stay tuned to Simplilearn. Also, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. I'll see you next time. Until then, keep learning. Thank you.